Last week, one man didn't. A law professor at New Mexico State University called David Clemens got one of those emails from his boss, the president of the university. According to the university's president, those BLM and Antifa riots you saw all last year, the ones that leveled our cities, are not a big deal. But the MAGA insurrection at the Capitol was a crisis of historic proportions. So to his credit, Professor Clemens did not delete that email. He didn't ignore it. He decided to speak up for everyone else who was too afraid to speak.
But what happened this past Wednesday is not being categorized as a riot with an angry people that have every right to be angry. It's being called insurrection. They're being called an angry mob, demagogues. So first of all, I'm offended that this is the email that you're going to send to faculty when you've been largely silent as cities have burned. People have lost their businesses, homes.
So Professor Clemens is not a demagogue. He's not even especially political. He says in the video, actually, he didn't even vote for Trump in 2016. He thought of himself as a never-Trumper. But a lot changed over 4 years, including his mind, and he did vote for Trump in 2020. But whatever. It doesn't matter who he voted for. He was saying obvious truths that most people can't say. So we wanted to talk to him, and a moment ago we just did. You know what's going to happen when you talk like this in public, when you express yourself as you would have, say, even 5 years ago, but you did it anyway. Why?
Well, in part because it appears that the university is under a spell of Marxism. 20% of the faculty members out there identify proudly as Marxist. And so what I'm asking for is parity. If you're going to call out violence, call it out, but do it year-round. Don't just wait until it's politically convenient due to what happened this past Wednesday. And in part because my students have expressed the same fears that they can't share who they really are at the university. Faculty members have contacted me by the hundreds saying that this is not just a local issue here in New Mexico, but it's pervasive everywhere. And so right now what I'm dealing with are students that are enamored with critical race theory and all of these doctrines that seem to condemn America. They seem to condemn what we stand for and the miracle that this country is. And instead, we're glorifying doctrines out of communist China, and it's clear for anyone that wants to look for it.
Professor, I agree with everything you said. I think most Americans, regardless of party, would agree with what you said. But you know for a fact that the administration of the school you work for, your employers, violently disagree with what you said. Are you saying this with the full knowledge that your life is about to become much more difficult?
Yes, I don't have tenure. I'm on the tenure track, so it's even riskier for me. But the fact remains that before I was a professor, I was a prosecutor. And I didn't live in an ivory tower. I didn't live in abstraction. I looked at the facts around me, and I had to represent victims of violent crimes. And I didn't leave that when I came and became a professor. And while it may be academically expedient to just talk about these theories, they have real-world consequences. And my students are in the throes of depression. They're despondent, and they are afraid to speak. And it really doesn't matter whether I voted for Trump or Biden. I'm not going to treat my students differently based on who they voted for, but they need to know when they get into my classroom, they're going to be treated fairly. They're going to be taught to think critically. They're not going to be told what to think. And there is just an absence of that going on in our university system right now. And it's worth speaking up about. If I don't, I'm complicit.
Man, you are brave. I mean, you are calm, and you're reasonable, and you're articulate. They have to pull you off the stage. They absolutely have to. And I hope when they try, you will come back and tell us about it. Because if one man can speak up as you have, it makes a massive difference, I think, in the life of the country. So I appreciate your doing it.
Thank you, Tucker.